Welcome back to the garden. It is now the second weekend in February. The most pressing matter before us is what to get our wives, better halves, for Valentine's Day in a week's time. But before we think about that too much, we've got some gardening to do. Big job today. I'm sorting out this. This is a bit of a disaster, but it isn't really. It is Leggy Seedlings. We'll talk about those, talk about why it's happened, we'll talk about how to fix them. So there's that. And then we're going to do some seed planting. We have two things I want to start the seed to get ahead. And that's these ones. These are peas. This is some cos lettuce. It's mega early still in February, so there's loads of time to plant seeds. Don't panic if you haven't started. This is all about planting lots of little regular crops to come to readiness to harvest throughout the season. So we're just making a start with a few. So let's get started. Right now, coming away from the tripod, I'm going to start with the pea because it's the easiest. I'm in the greenhouse and I began a bit of preparation. Now, obviously, the greenhouse, this is usually for tomatoes, but at the beginning of the season, I do try to start with an early pea crop. So I've used my hoe here and my rake to break up the soil, which has been sitting all winter. Now, before I put the tomato crop in, I will refresh this with some new compost, but for now, it's fine. I'm going to put a line of peas. If you see here, I put a little trough all the way down there. I'm going to pop peas in that. Right, before we do that, I just noticed the chickens are in the wrong beds. And whilst they're useful, whilst they're good and all, these beds have got things in them. Come on, there you go. Yeah, go in there. There's fine. And this one, that way. That way. Sorry about that. Back to peas. Okay, peas are what you'd expect. They're dried peas. This is a variety called Early Onward. And I am going to just sprinkle them in the hole. Relatively regular. And I'm really not going to worry too much about things like spacing, although I will take out the clumps, not clumps. Like this. The odd one that I missed. Until we have a row of peas like that. Now, all you need to do is cover them over. This is so easy. It's one of my favourite ways of starting. I'm just going to do that all the way online, and then we'll give them a water in from the watering can. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the very first watering in the greenhouse of 2026. Very exciting, right? To the next thing. Okay, this is a seed tray with seed compost and a little bit of perlite mixed in. I'm going to start by growing a few lettuce. Now I'm going to germinate them here. They'll need pricking out, and they're going to go in about 2 weeks into the bed here next to the peas. So we're going to get a pea crop and a lettuce crop. So that'll be our first vegetable crop of the year. Some for me and some for the girls over there. Right, this is a very small seed. I'm going to sprinkle these over the soil with my other hand in a second. You'll see. Well, there you go. As you can see next to the perlite, just about, I've done far too many. I think to finish them off with a sprinkling of compost. Use compost this time. A sprinkling of compost over the top. Not too much because it should be quite shallow for those seeds, like that. And then a little bit of water. And that is the lettuce. I will do a little label because I will forget what they are, but they'll go on the shelf in here. And that then is another seed on the shelf. So if you can see, it's gone in there. This one, I didn't get it in the end. This is the leek from last week that hasn't germinated just yet. This one is around. That's the marigold from last week. Again, no germination just yet. That's okay. 10 days is where we're looking. It's only been 7. And this one is just starting. You see how the beans at the back there start to push the soil? That's because they've grown a root below. So they are germinating nicely. So that will have green shoots by this time next week, as I suspect will the others. If you come up here, you'll see in the sweet pea, these are coming on very nicely. So good progress for this early in the season. But now we get to our first potting on job. And we have to save these. So these are the tomatoes. We've got 4 varieties on the back there. We've had a really good germination, in particular from this one, the Roma, but also the Cherry Falls and the Golden Sunrise. Not so good from the County Taste, but we've got enough. Now, I normally look for 3 or 4 plants
each. With the cherries, which will be okay outside, I'll do as many as I can. If you're sowing seeds at home and they are leggy, which is very likely, frankly, this year, let me tell you why. It's in the UK, particularly northern UK, it hasn't rained, stopped raining rather, since the beginning of the year. So it's been dark like this every single day. So the light levels have been really, really low. Now, what happens when seeds do that is they are reaching up for the sunlight, trying to find enough brightness to stretch really thin and leggy, just like that. So you can see they're really stretched out, and then they're weak, they're feeble, they're fall over, they're pretty rubbish. So what we're going to do, we're going to help them. So we're going to plant them deep. Now, this is partly why I put them in a seed tray. It gives me an opportunity now to plant them on. So let's get to that. Okay, so I have everything ready, and I'll show you what the plan will be. So everyone will tell you that tomatoes, when you transplant, need to be planted deep because they will grow more root from their stem. Every time you transplant them, you'll get a stronger plant as a result. And that is what we're going to rely upon here. So I prepared these pots. I may do a few more yet, but this is 4 pots per each variety. This is the secondary soil, so for young plants, so more nutrients, the one there in the purple. And I have used a lollipop stick to dig the hole. So I use that in it for transplanting. Now, you would have noticed I've got all these white ones. These are plastic. The reason I've got plastic ones is because the pen and the label last better. So again, from experience, wood ones don't work so well for that, but they're better for this job. So I've got a bit of both here. Okay. This is very hard to do on camera. I'll put it on a tripod and show you, but you'll see I'm going to transplant some of the, one at a time, I'll show you. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll start off with a cherry force, one of the cherries. And we use the lollipop stick down the edge of the plant. It's going to loosen the soil around it. It's supposed to do this by their leaf, but the plant's too unwieldy to do that. The plant will come out. I didn't want to particularly release all the soil from the root, but that's the best we can do on this one. Now what I'm going to do, taking the pot, I'm going to put the plant in almost to the bottom so that the leaf is just proud, right, there you go, just proud of the surface of the soil. Just like that. Okay? So the stem is all in this pot and it should then grow roots in all directions. And hopefully that will recover the plant. Repeat, in this case, 12 plus times, and I'll show you at the end, but that is the mechanism or method. Okay, we're all done. Let's have a look. So, rather mangled now. This is the tray from before. You can see them all leggy in there. And this is what we have now. So I've planted them nice and deep. I will give them a quick water, and I'll take them into the house onto that shelf again, and I'll let them grow on. I'm going to leave the cover off, so it's not too warm to encourage them to slow down, and hopefully they'll all recover. I think I'm going to keep this tray in here in the greenhouse. It's a bit mashed up, but if I leave it on here, they might survive just in case I get any death from transplanting, and that should be it. And we'll see how we go on the week. And I think that'll be all for today. So we planted some peas into the greenhouse. We've sown a tray for the lettuce for the greenhouse and obviously the chickens and myself. And we've sorted out some very leggy seedlings. If you want to know how to sort out your leggy tomato seedlings, that's how I've done it anyway. Next week, we will do some potato chitting, and we will probably have a look at how we're getting on with the sweet pea more. And maybe some more seeds. We'll see. We're into the 3rd week of February by then, so we should start to get a bit warmer with any luck and slightly less wet. Fingers and toes crossed. Until then, please like if you can and subscribe if you've got some value, and I will see you next time.